Alrighty, let's work on our lining. So let's grab our little slip pocket trim and our slip pocket. I've marked the midpoint on my slip pocket and also on my trim. Place a piece of double-sided tape along your trim. And we're going to fold it long way to meet the other side. Okay, now your lining should be right side facing up. We're going to take this and find the midpoint of both and line them up. And then we're going to go and get that attached at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now we're going to fold the opposite side up, matching up the midpoint again. Okay, now we're going to sew up the side along the top and back down the other side, but we're going to stop about right here because we're going to leave a couple of inches, about 3 inches, so that we can turn this out. All right, let's turn it out. Go ahead and get your corners pushed out. She said yes, your little trim piece is going to have a little bit of exposed pieces right now, and that's fine. Now, if you like, you can go ahead and give this a little press. I'm going to tuck this in, that seam allowance. Just pull it so that it tucks in. There we go. And now I'm going to hit it under my heat press really, really quick. Okay, I gave it a little press. Now we're going to go and get a top stitch added right along on our pocket material. Not on the trim piece, on the pocket material at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And we're not going to back stitch. We're going to leave our thread long in the beginning and the end, and then we're going to pull it through the back. I feel like I did not poke my corner out enough. Ow! Dang it, boy. Maybe I did. I just did all that ironing and I wrinkled it again. What in the world? Okay, I did. Alright, we're not back stitching. Let me say something. I posted a video a few days ago of me, a close-up of me sewing, and a few people asked me what foot I was using, and I told everybody that this was the standard foot that came on my machine, but I just realized it's not. It's not. This is not the standard foot. I must have done a zipper not too long ago and changed my foot out and forgot to put it back on, because that is not the standard foot. The part that's hitting, that the needle is going through, is the standard piece, but this other side that's going around it is part of a, I purchased a narrow foot to use this. And so, you know, when you have an industrial, it comes with two pieces, the part that's the foot and the part that goes up and down next to it. And this is the part that goes up and down next to it that goes with this piece. I forgot to change it back, so I apologize to anyone who asked me what foot it was, and I said it was a standard. It's not. It's a zipper foot. This part is a zipper foot. Okay, so now we're just going to give a tug on the back piece so that the thread comes through, and we're going to tie it. Now, after you tie it, if you would like to use some fray check or burn it, go for it. I think that mine is going to be okay. I like living on the edge. Okay, now go ahead and start go grab your one of your lining pieces, because we're about to get this attached really quick. Okay, we're gonna place it 4 inches up from the straight edge and centered, of course. So let's find the center. There we go. All right, place it on the center mark. Oh, make sure that you have the right side facing up. All right. Now, the material that I'm using, I can put pins in it. So I'm going to just pin this really quick. If you cannot use pins, you can put a piece of double-sided tape if you like. Okay, so now we are going to be attaching this. And she says when you start and end, same thing, leave your strings long and pull them to the back to tie it. Okay, and then we're going to be using rivets to insert it. I'm not going to use a rivet. I'm just going to, when I do my linings, I like to sew a triangle. So I'll start sewing right here, and I'll sew up right there, and then I'll turn it, pivot. So there, pivot, and then go around. And then that little triangle gives me extra stability, so I won't need to set it with the rivet, but you can do whichever way that you like. So I'm placing my pattern, my pocket upside down. My color, my thread is the exact same color as my lining, so I'm okay with that. So I have it about 1/4 of an inch down from the top of the pocket, and I'm going to be sewing it in at an angle. I am going to back stitch, and I'm sewing up to that top stitch that we made just a minute ago. Now I'm going to pivot so that I'm going towards the edge of my pocket. I'm going to hit it with 2 stitches. I'm going to pivot again, and now I'm going to be sewing down the side of my bag. I mean down the side of my pocket. Okay, now once again, I've made it to that top stitch that we did earlier in the pocket. I'm going to pivot in and sew right on top of that top stitch, 2 stitches. I'm going to pivot again, making a small triangle, connecting to the stitches that I just did, and I'm going to back stitch, and we're good. If I can find my scissors. Alright, and I'll show you what that looks like. Just a very tiny triangle. Okay, now we're going to work on our divider trim facing. Yes. So grab your facing, fold it so that you can find the center. Once you've got the center, and this can be on the wrong side or the right side, it doesn't matter because we have to do it to both. Once I found my center, I'm going to measure up 1 inch from the bottom. And from that center mark, I'm going to go out 3.5 inches. 1, 2, 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. Rotate it. Same thing from the other side, measure up 1 inch. Find that center point. Measure out 1, 2, 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. Now box those corners. Okay, once you've got that done, flip it over and do the exact same thing. Now on the right side, run yourself some double-sided tape right down the center. Grab your divider trim and lay it right side facing up. Measure up 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to fold it so that I can find my center. Got my center right on that white line. That's the good thing about patterns with lines on them, because right, you can find your spot really easy. And this vinyl is from my new plaid collection. Okay, we're gonna measure up 3/4 of an inch. And I'm gonna match up the center with the center. And it is right sides touching. All right, now we're gonna get this attached. And we're just sewing right on top of that line. All right, I'm gonna draw a little triangle on the corners. And we're going to rip right down the center and cut those little triangles out, getting as close as we can without actually cutting any thread seams. Okay, so she said to put some tape around here, around the perimeter, but added about 1/4 of an inch from your stitching. You don't have to do this part, but it definitely will help the trim facing to stay. I usually just beat it down, I don't know. But definitely makes sense to add some tape. Okay, so we're gonna pull our facing through. All right, we're pulling it through. And we're folding it on that seam. Okay, and she said a little bit of your trim can face on the other side while you do this. Let me say this, and this is just my opinion. The side that's touching the side that you're touching your facing, I personally don't think you need to draw a line on that. I did it because the directions told me to, but in hindsight, I wouldn't, because right now I can see one of the lines I drew, which isn't a big deal because I used erasable marker, but I still don't like that erasable marker. I feel like it leaves a little bitty hint, and there was no need for me to draw that line. It wasn't necessary. So, I mean, do whatever you think is best, but next time I'm not gonna draw that line. I'm gonna trim the triangle of the vinyl in this corner. Just the vinyl, not the lining piece, just to help it lay a little bit flatter, that little triangle piece. If you're able to press it, then go ahead and do it. I'm gonna do a quick little press. Because I'm using canvas for my lining, so it's fine. All right. Looks pretty good. Okay, let's grab our 8-inch zipper and a number 5 zipper pull. All right, lay one of your designer pieces, lay one of your divider lining pieces so that it is right side facing up. One of your lining pieces, the edge is 9 inches, so just make sure you have the right one because they're very similar in length. Okay, so this is the 9 inches. So this is right side up. Now I'm going to center and lay my zipper on it with my teeth facing up. All right, I'm going to baste this on, and I'm basting that on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, now I'm going to grab my other lining piece, and I'm going to place it right side facing up, making sure that I've got it facing the right direction. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we still want our zipper to be right side facing up, so we're just gonna rotate it so that our zipper teeth are still right side facing up. Find the center again. All right, we're gonna baste this side on as well. Okay, so now what we are going to do is place this. This is going to go right under here. Now this always happens, they want to buckle up. So what you can do is add a stitch right, basically the seam allowance right here. We're going to just lay it on top of the lining piece and add a stitch. Basically, you know, right on top of the stitches that's already there or a little bit outside of it. And that's going to make this lay flat. Okay, and now you see how it is flat. So now we won't have any problem laying this down on top of it. Okay, now we're gonna grab some zipper tape. I mean some double-sided tape. I like to use my thin tape for this. This is my 1/8 inch zipper tape that I got from Weft and Warp. Below this video, I have a list of all the things that I use when I make my bags, and I have the link to Weft and Warp there for you. All right, and now we're going to center this right over our zipper. I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of using my common sense to find the center. My common sense may not be that good. All right. Okay, now we're going to sew at 1/8 of an inch around this entire zip opening part. We're going to leave our thread long so that we can pull it through at the beginning and the end. We don't want to top stitch. All right, and now we're just going to pull our thread to the back and tie it. Okay, so now we need to get this shut. Okay, so now we need to get this shut. Now, she says that she likes to close it in 2 steps because when you're closing it, you want to get as close to here as you possibly can. And usually that's easier to do when you are going toward go ahead and trim down your seam allowance. Okay, what do you want me to do, baby?
So read this and then it will give you some idea.
Okay, now grab your folder pocket divider piece. And you want it to be right side facing up. Now grab this piece that you just worked on. And you want it to be right side facing down. So right sides are touching. I'm going to match up my midpoint. And we're going to sew this together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, and now we're going to trim the divider lining only. The divider lining only. The seam allowance. Okay, fold your divider pocket exterior away from the divider trim and press. The seam allowance should also be going underneath the exterior piece, away from the trim. Okay, and we're gonna just kind of finger press that. And now we're going to top stitch this right along here at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the same thing for the other lining. Place it right side facing up. This is going to be right side facing down. Match up those midpoints. All right, and get it attached at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Again, you can trim just the lining part of that seam allowance. Let's fold away. Seam allowance is behind our pocket, our exterior piece once again. And now we're going to go and get that top stitch added. All right, looking good. Looking good. Okay, once we have that done, she said we can trim the seam allowances on the corners. I guess just to help with bulkiness later. So the seam allowances that we just made, we can trim those down. The exterior part. Next, we are going to lay our exterior pieces so that they are right sides touching. Place a grid ruler 2 inches up from the bottom. Alright, I'm going to make a little dot at the corner. On the bottom piece, right where the curve starts, measure in 1/2 of an inch and make a mark. From that mark, you're going to make a second mark at about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and then another one at about 1/4 of an inch above that. Okay, y'all, basically it just looks like we're kind of making a little diagonal mark, so I'm just going to make some dots, y'all. Okay? And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing over here. I'm just making sure that it ends at about 1/2 of an inch on the side, okay? And now we are going to go and sew right on top of that line. So we kind of got a little curve going on right here. Curve, curve, curve. up to 1/2 of an inch. Curve, curve to 1/2 of an inch in. All right. She says to use some pinking shears to trim this down. If you don't have pinking shears, just go back and cut a few snips in it after you trim it. All right, let's turn this right side out. I'm not going through the zipper, I'm just flipping it right side out. I don't know why I said open the zipper. Okay, round out your curve. She said if you're going to be using a tag or something inside your bag, this is a good time to use it. Just note that you're going to be sewing the sides at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, so take that into consideration. Okay, so now we're going to put this to the side and we're going to grab our recessed zipper panels and our 11-inch zipper. Okay, so we need to fold the edge of our zipper. You know how you pinch it at 1/2 of an inch and it overlaps like that, and then usually I sew it by hand, but Alexa said that she likes to burn it, so I think I might try to burn it. She says she burns it and it melts together. Let me see. I've never done that. Oh my goodness, it worked. Alexa's. Thank you. Because I always struggle.
You're so welcome. Your kindness really gives me a charge.
Y'all, I was talking about Alexis, the pattern designer, and Alexa was like, thank you, you're... I wasn't talking to you, baby.
Can you repeat your question?
Oh my gosh. I wasn't talking to you. Oh.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question I heard.
It's okay, boo. I appreciate you. Oh, that gave me a good little tickle. Thank you for that laugh, Alexis. Good stuff. Alexis is like, yo, I do cool shit too. Too funny. Oh God. Yes. Oh my God, I'll never sew another zipper end again. Y'all, I was too busy laughing at Alexa to notice how crooked I did my zipper. Ugh, so angry. Okay, we got that done. All right, she says to separate our zippers. Lay your recessed zippers so that they are wrong side facing up. We're going to run a strip of double-sided tape along the very edge of each short piece. I am marking 1/4 of an inch down on each piece. And we're folding all 4 sides at 1/4 of an inch. Right over our interfacing, or our stabilizer, whatever. Okay, now we are going to fold these so that they are right sides together. Alright, let's grab our zippers. Okay, now you want to, so we want the raw edge of our zipper to be aligned with the raw edge of our zipper panel. So right now the zipper is right side facing down. To place it right in there, and just push it in as far as it can go, up to the fold, to the center, and then line up the bottom raw edge of the zipper with the bottom raw edge of the panel piece. Okay, get it snuggled in and pin it. If you like, you can use double-sided tape if you feel like it's doing some shifting on you. You can certainly put some double-sided tape on your zipper tape and then sandwich this on top, and then that way you'll know that it doesn't move around on you. And now we're gonna go and sew this at I'm gonna say we're gonna sew this at 3/8 of an inch. And I do have my zipper foot on still. Okay, and don't sew past the zipper panel. Once you get to the end of it, stop. Now you can go ahead and trim this down. You can trim down the vinyl to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Don't trim down your zipper tape though. Alright, now we can turn it out. And you want to just kind of poke that out. Okay, if you need to get a tool to poke that corner out, do so carefully. Alright, looks good to me. She said you can run a tool along your seam to kind of pull the zipper panel away from the tape. If you have a chopstick or something like that, she said that that's great. I'm going to finger press it. And I'm going to use my little pressing tool just to get the corner right there stand out a little bit. I have this tool in my Amazon storefront. I love to use it for smoothing stuff out like that. Okay, yeah, much better. If you're interested, I do get a small commission for items that you purchase through my Amazon store. So if you do decide to follow that link, thank you. I do appreciate you supporting my channel. All right. There we go. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Okay, now we're going to go and get a top stitch added on this and also add a base around the entire thing. If your seams are super, super thick, don't hesitate to get a hammer to smooth it out a little bit. Alright, and now I'm going to top stitch and baste around the whole thing. I'm going to start right here. I lied. I'm going to start on the bottom exposed part. I'm going to start where it's exposed so that I can back stitch and it won't show. And then I'll work my way around. Okay, now repeat the same thing to the other side. Okay, retrieve your main lining, the one that has the pocket. And you know what? I said I wasn't going to do a rivet, but I have to do a rivet. I forgot that this exposed piece is there. If you're okay with having an exposed piece there, then you don't have to rivet. And I actually think I'm okay with leaving it like that. Yeah, it's fine. It's good. But if you did not do the stitch that I did, then you need to go ahead and get a rivet put there. And you're going to put it right on the very outside of that trim. Right there, so that it's going to cover that when you close it. Okay, so grab this panel and grab your recessed zippers. So when you grab this, you need to place your recessed zipper right side up with the exposed edges showing, okay? So the zipper, this part, the long part is going to be hanging that way. I'm going to go ahead and find the center of this piece. Please note the direction that the zipper tape, the long piece, is going towards right now when you're placing this recessed zipper piece on the lining with the slip pocket. It needs to match, or otherwise your purse will be opening and closing the wrong direction, okay? Please pay attention to this part. Thanks. Bye. This is future Rayvon. Okay, now grab your lining top trim. And we want to make a mark at 3/8 of an inch and at 1 inch. And I'm guessing we're making this on the wrong side. Alright, so I'm going to mark down 3/8 of an inch. One, two, three, and she said also at 1 inch. All right, let's grab our main linings, and we want these to be right sides touching, matching it up by the midpoint. And I'm going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once you have that done, she said that you can go ahead and trim down the seam allowance of your lining piece and the seam allowance of your zipper panel, the zipper. But don't trim this piece right here, this trim piece. Leave that seam allowance on, but you can trim the rest of it down. All right, now we want to open this up, and our seam allowance should be going back behind our lining piece. And we're gonna just kind of finger press that. And now we're going to go and get a top stitch added right on top of our main lining piece at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Looking good. Oh, it looks so good. Okay, trim each lining, trim top. Okay, and so she says now trim the corner of each exterior trim part. So just right on the corners. We're just helping with our seam allowances. Okay, let's grab our little divider piece that we made. And let's make sure that our zipper is opening to the right and closing to the left, right? Because we want everything to match. So first thing I want to do is match up these two seams, make sure these are the same. Okay, now let's measure down 3/4 of an inch from the seam that connects the lining to the top piece, okay? And I'm going to place this right there. You know what, I'm gonna mark it because I can't do it all at one time. It keeps moving. All right, so I'm gonna mark 3/4 of an inch. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna go ahead and mark all 4 pieces. So right now we should have the lining piece with the slip pocket. All right, I'm gonna place, y'all, I am so bad with measuring. I hate, that's why patterns, I hate when I have to measure. I always mess it up. I don't even know how. Why is that right there? That doesn't even make any sense. It needs to be 3, oh, I did 3/8 instead of 3/4. That's the kind of stuff I be doing. 1, 2, 3/4 is right there. One, 3/4. Okay. Jeez, I'm glad I caught that. Now we're gonna place our, so press this flat so that you can find the midpoint of this, and then place it at that 3/4 mark that we just made. And get it clipped together. And now we're going to go and baste along the side at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now grab your other piece, your main lining piece, and we're going to place it right side facing down, and go ahead and just move that zipper out of the way. Okay, so these are right side stitching. I'm going to line up my seam allowances on the side, and then pin it together. Okay, now we're going to sew this entire side at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, let's trim this down to 1/8 of an inch. And now we're going to repeat the same thing to the other side. We're going to take this and move this over to that mark. You may have to lift it up off of the table, you know, because now it's pulling a little bit. I'm going to use my metal clamps because these babies don't move. And I need this to not shift on me. Again, you can get these metal clamps from my Amazon storefront. I love them for stuff like this. Like when you don't, you know, sometimes the plastic clamps will slip a little bit, but these babies don't move at all. Sometimes I get them caught on the end of my bed and it'll bend my whole metal clip, but it won't come out of my fabric. So they're heavy duty. I love it. Okay, so we got that on. I'm going to baste it at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to do it with this pocket facing down. It just seems to be a little bit easier. All right. Okay. Now we need to, again, line up our seam allowance. I meant line up those side seams. Perfect. And now we're going to sew the entire side together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we are going to reach in, and you know, we always say to mark our midpoints. So we see that we have that midpoint marked. I hope you did. And you're going to grab, so now, you know, this is our mid pocket piece. I'm going to move this stuff all the way so you can see it. We've got our pocket piece and the bottom is still open, right? Well, we're going to grab both of these pieces at the midpoint, and then we're going to grab one of our main panel pieces. It doesn't matter which one. And we're going to match up that midpoint. And we're going to continue to clip along the straight part of that divider pocket. And we're going to baste that together. And we're going to stop basting when we get to where the curve starts on that pocket. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Match up that midpoint. And we're going to go and baste that together. And this time when we sew it, we're going to continue to sew these two edges. So basically this time we're going to sew the entire length of the bottom of our main panel lining. It may feel a little weird, but just kind of move it around until you get what you need. And we're going to be sewing these together at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And now we're going to box our corners. So it looks like this right now. That curve goes in. We're going to just put our fingers right there and pull. And we're lining up our two seams. Those mid seams, line them up with each other. And once you have it lined up, then you can just gently kind of pull it, and it's going to want to fall. It's going to want to kind of fall right there on its own. Okay. And now we're going to sew these at 3/8 of an inch. And there's a little bit of a curve to it, so just take your time when you do this. Curve. easy breezy. I'm going to trim that down, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, here we go. Back to our bag. Run some double-sided tape. So this is the second line that we drew at 1 inch, right? We're going to put double-sided tape right above there. So between the second line that we drew and our edge that's exposed, that's where we're going to run our tape. Okay, so now we're getting ready to get our drop done. We've got our tape on. Go and snip along your curve just like we did on our exterior. So she said don't snip all the way down to that first line. So that's kind of a guide to let you know don't go that far. So go maybe like halfway between here and that line. Okay, and now we're going to take the backing off of our double-sided tape. And we're going to just fold down to that second line that we drew at the 1 inch mark. I like to start in the middle, just because. And I'm going to add a few clips, or I'm going to have them ready just in case they don't stay. Okay, so let's go ahead and fold all the way around. Okay, I almost didn't want to show this because do it at your own risk. When I added this, I meant to add it a little bit above the midpoint, but I forgot, and I added at the midpoint, and now I don't like how close it is to the bottom. So if I had done it a little bit more tight, I think it would have, I'm just not happy with the placement. So these have little holes on the back. My supplier, when I talked to them about it, they were like, oh, it's not for anything. It's just a hole. But that's bothering me because I'm like, no, why would you just make a hole for no reason? So it's just been in my mind. So I was playing around with it, and I have these 9 by 8. I think this is an 8. The post, I believe the post part is at 8 millimeter. And I realized that I could stick it in. And when I get it in, it's in there pretty tight. Like I almost couldn't get this back out when I did that. So I made a little mark where one of those holes is on here in the spot that I want it to be. And I'm going to make the tiniest little slit in my material. I mean the tiniest little slit. Very, very tiny. And make a little slit. Tiniest slit ever, y'all. And now I'm going to take my little rivet and stick it through that slit. I can't even get it through, it's so little. Because I don't want it shifting, you know? Alright, here we go. And now I'm going to grab that piece that I measured. And I'm going to... Alright. Okay, so what I did was I grabbed a washer like for a magnetic snap and I placed it on the inside. Okay, so let's, because you couldn't see it, so I stopped recording it. But I took this piece and then I placed a couple of pieces of Pull-On Peltex, the thick kind, like 2 pieces, and folded it under so it was really thick. And then I placed this on top of my Peltex. So I have all of this pressure, and then I put it through that slit that I made into the hole on here. And then I just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it as tight as I can get it. And then I actually, again, I like to live dangerously. I got some material, some really, really thick vinyl, and covered up my piece and pushed it flat. And then I got a hammer, and I didn't hammer it, I just took it and placed it on top of that and used my weight to push down. As hard as I could. So it was almost like using a press. If you have a hand press, then it would do the job perfectly, but I don't have one. And once I do all of that and smash it together, it is laying flat against my bag. And it's in the position, it lifted it up to the position that I wanted it to be. Y'all know me, I'm gonna find a way to make something do what I want it to do. You just gotta be really careful. You can, these are materials. We can make it do what we say. We're the boss. Definitely put some fray check or something around that material so that you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, that looks pretty good. See, it's not as low as it was before. Okay, now let's get our lining attached. Okay, let's get everything attached. So we've got our lining. I want my bag to open to the right and close to the left. So I'm going to make sure that that is going on. It is. Go ahead and tuck your zipper tabs all the way in. I mean your zipper tape all the way in. Okay. So my zipper is opening to the right, closing to the left. And we're just going to place it right inside. And I'm just going to kind of shove it in there. All right, now I'm going to find my midpoint on the front of my bag and the back first. And I'm going to match those up. We should still be able to see those marks. There it is. And there it is right here. All right. Same thing on the opposite side. All right, and now I'm going to match up my side seams. If it's coming apart, just take a deep breath and just try your best to get it back together. Okay, and once I have my sides lined up, once I have my 4 corners matched up, now I'm just going to make my way around it. I'll never have another. All right. We are going to get this sewn on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Just go slow, take your time. If you have a zipper foot on, take that zipper foot off, baby. All right. I'm going to start on the side. Make sure that you push that zipper out of the way when you get to it. I'm just walking over this side where the seams are a little thick. Taking my time. Again, I have to say, make sure that you do not get your zipper panel stuck in here. It will not be fun. Oh God, Ray. I'm messing up already, my lord. I missed my whole bottom of my bag. I felt it. I didn't catch anything. Like, what a waste of my life. Let me see. Where's my seam ripper? Come on now. Seam ripper, what would you be? Stuff like this always starts happening at the end, right? The good thing about this Ultra Fabrics is that it's very like self-healing. Even if there's holes that are showing, I'm going to try to go right on top so it shouldn't, but on the back side there might be some holes that show. It's going to be fine because once I apply a little bit of heat to it, because I've done this before, the holes will go away. This Ultra Fabrics is just great. Alright, let's try that again. Fool me once, you won't fool me again. Thought I could trust you, but I can't. You're not my friend. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm losing it. I'm tired. Got him. I'm going to keep saying it. I know you're sick of it, but I'm going to keep saying it. Make sure that zipper doesn't get stuck as you're doing these curves, okay? It wants to mess up your life. It wants to. Don't let it. Move, zip, get out the way. Get out the way, zip, get out the way. That was the remix, y'all. I have a little bit of bunching going on, and it's making me nervous. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be adding that connector on the sides, right? So I'm going to adjust it so that any bunching that happens underneath that connector. Give myself a little wiggle room, I guess. Yeah. So you see how I have that little bit of a gap right there? Whatever I did wrong, it left a slight puckering right there. So what I'm going to do is take it and push that puckering towards my side seam allowance. And that way, later when we go and get the connector added, right there where it puckers, it'll be underneath that connector. And by the time the connector gets down here, that bunchiness will be gone. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of shift it over. I took my thread out because I had passed it. I took it out back to the halfway point, and now I am squeezing to make the bunch go towards the seam. And now I'm going to start sewing right over that bunch. I'm basically going to push it down so that it's like a pleat almost. You know, it's not the best thing, but it's the best that I can do right now, because that way at least it won't show. It'll be hidden under that connector, so I'll be okay. Living in the ghetto. You gotta do what you gotta do, okay? Do what you gotta do, and don't you be ashamed. Again, get the zipper out the way. Get the zipper out the way. Because it's trying to stay. But not today. I'm so mad at myself. So I decided to do one of these really quick so that I can make sure I got it right before I recorded it. And I did it wrong. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. So now, in case anyone else does what I do, you'll know how to fix it. But let me show you the right way. Okay, so grab your connector and draw a line down the center long way. And then the side that does not have the stabilizer, you're going to just cut off a little bit. And that's just going to help with the seam allowance. Okay, let's take our tape off. and fold it into the line. Okay, and now we're going to go and sew at 1/8 of an inch. We're going to start on the tapered end and sew all the way back. Okay, grab a piece of double-sided tape and run it along the side that's tapered. We're going to fold this over, and we're going to fold it over at about the 1 inch mark. There we go. I'm going to trim down just a little bit more of that because I don't want any of this showing, peeping from underneath, right? Okay, now I'm going to run my triangle over that. And now we're going to fold this over so that the edges meet. So one edge is going to be folded and one's going to be raw. Now we're going to make 4 marks. So from each long edge, we want to go in 1/4 of an inch. And then from this short end, we want to go in 1/4 of an inch. So down 1/4 of an inch. And in 1/4 of an inch. And then the next mark, we're going to go 5/8 of an inch from the top of this side. So in 1/4. Did I say 5/8? Yes, 5/8 of an inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. Same thing on the other side. Now we're going to punch a hole. Now, what you should do, what I was supposed to do, well, I did this part. Okay, so grab it. And she said that you want your exposed edge, the raw edge, to be on the outside. I'm going to put mine on the inside. That was the plan. Just because I don't want anything exposed on the outside of my bag. So you take it and you place it over the side of your seam. Okay. You don't want to tug it too tight. Just comfortably place it over the top. Make sure that your seam is in the center, and then you just make a mark in that hole. All 4 holes, okay? Now, if your hole gets off a little bit, the placement, like I know that that's not centered. It was right there and right there. I know that it just got shifted, so I'm just gonna draw a dot where I think that it needs to go, okay? And what you're gonna do, this is why you're gonna need the long rivets for this part. I carry 10 by 10 millimeter, and that's what you're gonna need because we're going through a lot of fabrics. Okay, so fabric. So what you want to do is punch a hole at those marks. forgot to get a handheld puncher. Okay, now what you're supposed to do is run this over it. Like I said, I'm going to have my edge that's folded over on the outside. And you take your rivet and you stick it through. And stick it through the bag. And then you take the piece that's hanging at the top, the opposite side, and wrap it around and run your rivet through that hole. Then you close it up. Now, you're going to have to press it. The first time what happened was I went to do the next one and it popped because there's so much material. So I was like, oh no, okay, I need to stop and go back and press it one at a time because this isn't going to work. Well, right when I went to do that, so I went and I pressed it and blah, 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 and came back, I forgot to run this over. So after I set it, I realized, oh my God, I did not include this. So don't be like me. When you go to set this one, make sure you run that over, get it through that hole, and then set it. And then you're going to go and repeat it to the other hole, you know, the other 3 holes, and then you're done. But I didn't do that. So now I'm going to show you what I had to do. First, I'm going to set these 2 on the bottom because that's what I did on the other side, and I want it to match even though it's not right. So I'm going to set these 2 really quick, and I'll be back. Okay, so if you're doing it the normal way, you should have just gone and repeated that first step to the other 3 holes. Like I said, I messed up. So now I have got my 2 bottom pieces, rivets set. My triangle is on. I'm going to take my piece on the inside. So this piece right here, I'm going to take this raw edge and I'm going to fold it so that it meets the top of the bag. So I'm just folding it right up to the top where we added our top stitch. And that's it. And it's folded directly under itself. Okay. And now I am going, because the hole that's there should already match the front, right? Those 2 holes should already be lined up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just the piece that's sticking out that should have been on the inside, and the holes that are already there, I'm going to go through those exact same holes so that now I'll have a new hole on that under piece. Because I need it to line up with the other holes. All right. So now let me go ahead and change back to the other one so I can immediately get these set because they'll pop right out. Now I didn't put a hole on this front piece. Again, I didn't touch that. I just put my hole through the back piece to make that match. Okay, now let's get a rivet. And my rivet is going through my front hole, that front hole, and then through my bag. And now it's going to go through these 2 holes. I'm matching them up, and then matching it up. So now there's no exposed edges. Everything is folded. You know, it is what it is. You gotta be able to just adapt and fix mistakes, right? Can't get too worked up about it. I just gotta figure out how to fix it. I'm actually gonna cut that piece underneath there. It doesn't need to be there. Just like we did that little snip earlier where we did an angle, I'm gonna do the same thing. Cut it at an angle because we don't need all that. Make sure your triangle is on there. Oh my God, did you see? Look at that, y'all. Do you see what I just almost did? I almost put it on with the triangle between there. I would have died. Oh my God, thank you, Jesus, that I did not set that yet. Whew. My heart is beating so fast. Oh my gosh. I would have thrown this bag away. You get so mad. All right, so now I'm just going to go through all of those holes. There we go. Whew. I think this is the hardest part of the whole bag. We're almost done, y'all. Let's get our zipper put on. Make sure it's not twisted or anything. All right, if it looks good. How did I do that, y'all? It's so crooked. How did I do that? Look how crooked it is. Oh my God. What did I do? What did I do? How did I do it? You know what? This is just gonna have to be my bag. And I don't even like big bags. Oh gosh. Maybe I'll give it to my mom. She'll still wear it. Oh my gosh, I didn't line up my I didn't check to make sure that these two were aligned. Ray, you're a loser. It's fine. Everything's fine. Let's do our zipper in. Mom, if you're watching this, you got a new bag. All right, so I'm going to put this tape on the bottom side of this. And fold it in. And I'm going to slip my zipper. I have never done that before. That is a new one for me. I can't believe I did that. Maybe I can act like that's the new style, you know? All the designer bags are doing it. They always, that's a new thing, yeah. Gucci, I saw their last bag. The recessed zipper was like that. Yeah, that's what it was. I'm a trendsetter. Oh my gosh, I have to laugh or I'm gonna cry. All right. Now, if you make that strap, that cool strap, you can go ahead and get it added. Now, I did not do the strap because I was going for like a designer's bag look, so I wanted to do some really chunky hardware. So I'm gonna grab my chain really quick. So I have a new chain in. I just got this in yesterday. It is a super heavy. This is a premium chain. Like, it is gorgeous. It's about 22 inches long. It weighs 7.5 ounces. And it is just, I don't know if this video is capturing it, but it is gorgeous in real life. And that's what I wanted to use on this bag because I just feel like it looks really, I don't know, designer, stylish. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this put on. Yep, this is what I wanted. Love it. Oh my God, I love it so much. Okay. Let me wrap it up. I'm gonna get some pictures tomorrow. Oh, it looks so good. Super excited. So the next day, I decided that I wanted my chain to have a little strap, you know, to go in between it. I just felt like that would just really set off this bag. So that's what I did the next day. I did record it, but it's not going to be on this video. But right now in the top corner, I'm adding a link. So you can just click on that and that'll take you straight to that tutorial if you want to do a chain like that. All right, y'all, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. You can find me on all of the social media platforms. And I'll also go ahead and add all of that stuff in my, I'll add a link to all of that stuff in the video description box as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.